Hello, this is Sandy with Sandy's Crafty Creations, brand ambassador for Graphic 45. I'm sharing a tutorial on how I made a mini baby album using Little Darlings Deluxe Collector's Edition. Let's get started. For the album cover, you will need to cut 5 pieces of chipboard. In these measurements that I have here, I'm going to give them out to you: 2.5, 1 3/8, 3 1/8, 1 1/8, and 2 inches. I also cut a piece of cardstock in the ivory or cream color. You need one piece at 7.5 inches by 12 inches. I'm laying out my chipboard pieces in the order that they will need to be to make sure that I have plenty of room to wrap the cover once I've attached these pieces to the cardstock. So they will go down in this order: the 2.5 starting at the left, then the 1 3/8, the 3 1/8, the 1 1/8, and ending with the 2 inch. So you need at least a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch around all the edges of the chipboard so that you can wrap the cover. Now I'm going to be attaching mine with glue, and I will use 1/4 inch score tape between each section of the chipboard to make sure that I have a 1/4 inch space between each. I place my ruler on the left side to make sure that I'm getting at least a 1/2 inch space of cardstock on the left side, and to make sure that I'm putting down my first piece straight. So I'm putting down the 2.5 inch space chipboard on first using glue. So I'm lining it up with my ruler and making sure that I have a 1/2 inch of cardstock still showing at the top and the bottom. I'm going to burnish that down really well, and I'm taking my 1/4 inch score tape and I'm going to butt this up against the chipboard piece, attach the tape down onto the cardstock for a spacer. Burnish that down with my fingers, and now I'm ready to add the next piece of chipboard. This is the order that you need to make sure that your album closes up properly. So I'm going to continue using my ruler as a guide on the bottom to make sure everything goes down straight, and I'm going to continue adding the chipboard pieces with glue and adding 1/4 inch score tape between each chipboard piece as a spacer guide. Now that all the chipboard pieces are glued down onto the cardstock, I'm taking my 3/8 inch score tape and I'm applying it to the cut edge of the the cardstock on all 4 sides. Make sure to burnish the tape down, and then I'm going to take my metal mitering tool. I got this on Etsy, and I'm going to miter the 4 corners of the album cover. So I'm using my bone folder also to burnish down the tape. So what you want to do, you want to use a cutting mat. Let me grab mine real quick. And this tool is really handy. It fits right up against the chipboard and gives you the placement of where to cut the cardstock to miter the corners. You want about 1/8 of an inch from the tip of the chipboard where you cut across at an angle. So I'm getting my knife. I use a utility knife instead of a craft knife because I have better control with a bigger knife, and you just cut that corner off and then reposition the metal tool on each corner and cut it off. If you don't have a metal tool like this, you can also use a ruler, and some people do just fine eyeballing it. I'd rather have a little more left than cut it too short, so I like to make sure that I'm leaving about 1/8 of an inch from the tip of the chipboard. And I'm just rechecking, recutting a couple of the corners. Okay, the next photos I'm going to show you up close what it should look like once it's been cut and mitered. Before attaching my cardstock down onto the chipboard cover, I like to stand it up on the sides and the ends and get a good fold of where it's going to wrap around. And then I also peel up all the tape backing that I use for spacers so that the sticky will be available for when I put down my inside paper on my cover. So I'm peeling off all these backings before I wrap the edges. I do the long sides first, so I'm peeling off the tape backing on one side, and then I'm using my bone folder and running it along the outside of the cardstock up against the chipboard to get a nice crease. And then I also like to put a little bit of glue, a little thin line of glue, right up against the chipboard, at the top of the chipboard, onto the cardstock. So this helps to keep a smooth edge when it folds over. Now I'm just folding the top down. I'll show you in just a second. And I'm using my bone folder to make sure that it sticks down. So just burnish it with your bone folder, and also make sure you burnish in those little folds and so that it sticks down into the score tape that you used as a spacer guide. So just burnish that real well and then repeat for the other long side. Before you fold down the short sides, make sure that you take your bone folder or your fingernail and press down any excess cardstock so that it's laying up against the chipboard. So I'm trying to show you here where you press it down right there at the tip, fold over any of the excess, and then add your glue and fold over the cardstock the same way that you did with your long sides. The cover is assembled and wrapped, and I'm just doing some extra burnishing on the mitered corners. And then I'm gently folding the sections to show you how the album cover goes together. The larger 2.5-inch section does go over the 2-inch section, and I'm going to put some magnets on as a closure. Right now I am burnishing some of the sections of the wrap in between the sections to make sure that it does fold up good. So this is what it looks like at this point, and now I'm ready to add some magnets. I put 2 on the 2-inch side on the finished side, and I put 2 on the 2.5-inch side on the unfinished side, and this is what it looks like when it's closed up with the magnets. I will be adding one more magnet later on in the video, as I decided that it did actually need 3. So this is the paper that you're going to cut out of cardstock. You need one piece 11-inch by 6 3/8 inches, and you glue it to the inside of the album, and then you re-burnish the fold lines again so that it will close up. Now we're ready to go on to the pages. First, I'm going to make some zigzag pages. So I'm going to cut 7 pieces of cardstock that is 6 1/4 inches by 3 inches. And then I'm going to score only 6 of these pieces. I'm going to score 6 of the pages on the 6 1/4 side at 1 inch. So these will be the pages. You want one that is not scored, so you need to set one aside. So I'm just scoring the 6 1/4 inch side at 1 inch. I'm taking the 6 that are scored. I've set aside one that's not scored. And I'm taking the 6 that have the 1-inch score line, and I'm going to burnish each one along the fold line. And you want to use your bone folder, and you burnish it, and then you flip it and burnish it again on the other side because you want it to be able to bend. So you're going to do that. I've done one, and I'm going to open it up now, and I'm only going to put glue within the 1-inch space. And then I'm going to attach it down to the right side of the one that has no score lines. So that piece is the back base of the pages. So you burnish that and make sure you line them up as straight as possible, and see that flips back this way. Now fold it back down, and the next page do the same thing, burnish the fold lines both ways, and then you're going to glue it flat down to the left side of the page that you just attached. So you're going to stack these, and you're going to do this to the first one's to the right, attached to the right, the next one's to the left, then to the right, and then to the left, and so on until you have them all attached. Now when you open up the pages where you unfold them out, you'll notice these zigzag patterns. So that's where you get the name of the zigzag pages. So now we're ready to attach it into the album. So take the side that is the back, which has no score lines, and you're going to fit it into this section, the widest section of the album. So I'm just checking to make sure that the pages do fit within the fold lines. And I'm going to use glue on the back side only, on one side of the piece that has no score lines, and I'm going to attach that down into the album. I have the zigzag pages in, and I decided that I need an extra magnet in the center. So I've attached one more in the center, and it is okay that I have one outside of the finished side on the left side, as this will be covered up with pattern paper. So um, I should have put 3 in at first, but it's okay because I've realized it at this point that it did need one extra magnet to make sure that it stays closed. So now we have the zigzag pages in, and they fold out like this. It's just a unique, different look to the album pages, and I'm ready to add some small, narrow waterfall pages into the top section. So I'm going to close this up and let it sit, and I'm going to make the next pages. For the waterfall pages, you will need 5 pieces of cardstock that measures 6 1/4 inches by 3 1/2 inches. And I'm scoring the 3 1/2 inch side at a 1/2 inch. So you'll do that on all 5 of the waterfall pages. You're going to score your 3 1/2 inch side at a 1/2 inch. I'm actually scoring at the 3-inch mark on the right side of the 3 1/2 inch because it's easier to score where you have more room on the right than actually scoring on the left. But they do all have a 1/2 inch score line on all 5 of these pages. Use your bone folder to burnish all the score lines, and this will make the hinge for your waterfall pages. And you'll notice that these are different than normal waterfall pages. They're actually shorter to fit into the album section. So these are made for little Instagram photos or smaller photos that you might have to put in your album. Open up the album, and you're going to take the first waterfall page, and I'm just checking the fit and how it will close in with the other pages. And in that second little section of the album, that would be the 1 3/8 inch section, I'm going to attach the first waterfall page by putting glue on the back side of the hinge, and you want to drop it down about 1/16 to 1/8 of an inch from the fold line. You want to make sure it is not in the fold line, and put it in straight and then burnish it. And then take your second page, burnish the fold line so that it has a good crease, and you're going to line this up underneath the first page. So I'm just checking to make sure how it fits. See how much clearance I have for these pages when the album is closed. Lift up the first page and use glue on the half-inch hinge of the second page and attach it about 1/8 of an inch or less underneath the fold line of the first page. And then double check to make sure that they are staying within the main section of the album, and then continue adding each waterfall page in the same manner. Next, I'm making a closure piece for the waterfall pages. I cut a piece of cardstock that is 2 inches wide by 5 inches long. Here I've cut it longer and I'm measuring to see how long I really need it, but it ended up being 5 inches long. And then you'll also need 2 more magnets. You need 1 set of magnets. And score the 5-inch side. I'm cutting it down right now, but then after you cut it down, you'll want to score the 5-inch side at 2 inches and 2 1/4 inches. Place a magnet on the first page of your waterfalls, and then attach the flap to the opposing magnet, and then you will wrap your flap around on where the fold lines are, the score lines, and then you will glue it to the back side, or the back side of the last page. So I'm just measuring and fitting it here because I had to determine the score line marks by fitting the closure and the magnets onto the album to see where I needed them to fit. And you do want 2 score lines so that you have a space for the pages. I'm applying glue to the back side of the closure piece, and with the pages turned with the back side of the back one facing up, I'm fitting this in with using a 1/4 inch on the pages of the cut edges of the pages, and I'm attaching it down with the glue onto the back side of the last page. So I'm reburnishing the fold lines, and once the pages are opened down and attached to the magnet, you will have a 1/4 inch space for the pages. The pages are in. You have the waterfall at the top and the zigzag in the center. And I'm just checking to make sure that everything closes up properly and is burnished good on the fold lines. And then I'll be ready to decorate and finish the album. This is my finished album after I patterned it on the inside and outside and added all the decorations. I added a cluster of flowers to the front with some twine and pretty ribbon. And I've also added pockets on the inside and decorated all the flaps and pages, added some cut aparts inside just go ahead and decorate it up the way you want to. On my Z pages, I used just two prints, the pink and the blue, so that it would be alternated, and then I used some of the cut aparts to decorate and some of the stickers. So it's a lot of fun to create, makes a really nice little gift, and I hope you've enjoyed watching my video. And I'm going to show a few more of my finished pictures that are showcased on the Graphic 45 blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll join me again. Bye bye.